In My Shadow is a puzzle game where you have to move objects to clear a path to replay a memory. You play Bella, and when we first meet her, she's slumped at her desk procrastinating over a laptop. Not an unusual scenario, but her desk is meticulously tidy, so I don't trust her. She gets a text from her old man kickstarting some flashbacks, and then we're introduced to Bella's shadow from when she was a kid. In My Shadow is a 3D title occupying 3D spaces, but as soon as the action begins, you're a 2D projection on the wall. Think Super Mario Odyssey 2D sections without the tash or smelling of meatballs. Should you choose to accept it, the mission is to get Bella's shadow to safety, collecting memories along the way. There aren't any timers, health gauges or goblins chasing you down with a Nerf gun, so it's a somewhat therapeutic puzzle game where taking time and experimenting is encouraged. Either I'm super smart or In My Shadow is pretty easy as I completed it in one sitting. I'd put my money on the second one as I still can't spell my name. This hasty gameplay was probably for a few reasons: getting this review done in time to make a video, finding out what the F Bella has done, for example, has she buried her family under the patio or did she leave the toilet seat up, or maybe it was just because I liked it. Well, it was all three. Ignoring the obvious first one, with a beautiful soundtrack, I was all set for a story to make me weep like a visit to the red light district. After the superb Before Your Eyes experience, I was eager for another powerful narrative, only it didn't quite get there. No spoilers here, but In My Shadow's story is divided into 4 areas of her family home, depicting a connection with each family member. After so many levels, an illustrated sequence recalls the days of old. It isn't recollections of making stink bombs or burning down the house as we all did as kids, or maybe not you, but it didn't really go anywhere either in terms of development. Bella's experiences are all just too ordinary. She's not a bad person, neither are her faults or the environment that she's grown up in. It is all just a little too vague. It's a shame as the character designs are nice and the music triggers you for an emotional ride, but it didn't click with me on that level. Before Bella's shadow can get to her goal, you have to clear the way for her. There are 2 modes, the platforming element and the placement of objects. Playing with a mouse and keyboard, I'd use the keyboard to move Bella about, then switch to the manipulation bit by pressing E. With the mouse I was able to drag objects around the X, Y and Z axis while watching the shadows form on the wall. There are 2 surfaces to experiment with, and you have to position the objects such as boxes, tables and chairs to cast the shadows that Bella can climb over. It's all very intuitive. As you progress, there will be more hazards such as spinning blades and spiky floors. Additionally, some items might only move in one direction, not at all, or rotated on the axis to create new jump spots. There are even portals introduced late in the game to teleport to different areas of the room. Platforming for In My Shadow is simple. There aren't any dashes or double jumping, nor is she packing any heat. She doesn't need to as there aren't any enemies in the game, maybe herself and self-sabotaging, but other than that, the puzzles can be completed relatively swiftly, and for this reason, it feels immediately gratifying. As you can't die, it's best to go for a bit of a trial and error as there isn't always one option. I would find that I'd start a run straight away, then fine tweak each object, sometimes starting all over. Some levels would take less than a minute with a first attempt, others more. There was a level in the third room that had me stumped for a good 25 minutes though. It wasn't the last level or even close, but I struggled with it to the point where a notification said I could skip it. There was the odd thing that didn't work well. When placing items directly next to each other, the shadows would create a perfect line, but Bella wouldn't step over it and would stop. Even if they were a millimetre out, it just wouldn't work. Also, the jumping can be a pig as you can't adjust the power. Jumping between a section with spikes at the top and bottom was more or less impossible without any variations. Still, this is a design choice and the way around it is by finding another path. Having completed the game, it can be done, and I'd be surprised if there be many who will rage quit on this one as the difficulty is pretty well balanced. The biggest thing for me was the story and subsequent conclusion. On my part, it missed the boat and could potentially have been a belter. But is it any good? Yes, I think so. I love the way the game makes you think by dragging simple shapes to create a new perspective. Pacing was good and the problem solving felt like an organic experience. It took me around about 3 or 4 hours to finish. It's not a competition on who can complete it the fastest, but just to give you an idea on longevity.